Joining us now for World Brief and to review top stories in today's newspapers is Adefemi Akinsanya. Good morning.
Good morning, Dr. Rubin.
Good morning, and thank you for this chocolate.
You're more than welcome. You're most welcome. They're little like chocolate. You've got yours as well.
I want to bring out mine.
So they're little like chocolate postcards from the Czech Republic. You know, we were there over the weekend. My brother got married on Friday. Yes, can you believe there's a woman that's taken my brother from us? So that is good. So yes, I'm really, really happy to share this time with you. And I've missed you guys so much. It's so good to be back. Thank you all. All right, so let me take you around the world. We'll start in the Middle East, where protests have broken out across Israel after its military recovered the bodies of 6 hostages killed in Gaza. Protesters say Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has not done enough to secure a hostage deal with Hamas. Now, Israeli media are also saying that the hostages were executed according to forensic evidence, shot multiple times in the head or shot in the head, all of those people, before their bodies were found in those tunnels. Now, the country's largest labor union has called for a strike today, saying the entire Israeli economy will be shut down. Israel's far-right finance minister, though, has pushed against these protests, trying to prevent the strike, and says that he will deny pay to anyone participating in these protests. Now, 3 of those hostages killed in Gaza, including Israeli-American Hirsch Goldberg, Poland, had been expected to be released in a ceasefire deal, according to US and Israeli officials. Now, that deal has been thrown, of course, into the air, with the US National Security Advisor saying that the next few days will be critical in the push to free those still held by Hamas. And US President Joe Biden will meet with the US negotiating team today. So definitely a huge story that we're seeing happening in the Middle East that will, of course, come to you all for your comments. But let's move on, staying in the United States now. And the presidential campaigns are now moving into their final months. Vice President and Democratic presidential nominee Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump are readying themselves for a pivotal new stretch of the 2024 campaign. President Joe Biden will join Harris on the trail in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania today, while Trump and his allies will speak with auto workers in Detroit, Michigan. Now, controversy is deepening around Trump's visit to Arlington National Cemetery last week. Harris also went on the offensive on Saturday, saying that Donald Trump, who is, of course, her political rival, only understands service to himself, while Trump has defended his visit to Arlington, saying that he did not violate the rules which prohibit political activity on those sacred grounds. Abortion, funnily enough, is now an issue within the Republican Party, as Trump's back and forth on a Florida amendment and related issues this week illustrated the political challenge reproductive rights are posing for the Republican Party. You do see Donald Trump trying to reposition his stance on reproductive rights, wanting to create IVF for all women in the United States. And then also, if we move on to Germany, Germany's anti-immigration Alternative for Germany party, the AfD, Alternative for Deutschland, is celebrating a historic success with the far-right party on course for a big victory in the eastern state of Thuringia. The AfD is set to win almost a third of the vote. That's going to be the first time that they've done such a thing. And they put themselves far in front of different political parties, including Germany's 3 governing parties. The result would give the far right its first vote in a state parliamentary since the Second World War, although it does have very little hope of forming a government there. And then lastly, some African news to bring to you. After being hounded over her nationality over in South Africa and forced to drop out of the Miss South Africa contest, Chidima Adetshina has been crowned beauty queen of a totally different country, our own very Nigeria right here. She cried tears of joy as she was named Miss Universe Nigeria on Saturday, and she will represent our lovely country at the Miss Universe competition in November. You'll remember that, of course, there was a lot of back and forth. Some would say xenophobic witch hunt of some form, with some people in South Africa questioning her eligibility to represent that country because she has a parent who has Mozambican heritage and a Nigerian father, even though she was born in the country. But that's all by the way now, as she is now our own Miss Universe, and we look forward to the competition in November.
Congratulations to her. But
yes,
hope this was not an attempt to look so good at the expense of other people that have worked hard.
Right. Because it is a competition.
Number 2, what we condemned was the xenophobia against her.
Absolutely.
But was not the atrocity of using illegal means and identity theft of some sort.
Right.
We don't condone that. In fact, I think Vimba shared something recently that South Africans are now asking, how did the mother ever leave the country in the first place? Because if you are under such investigation, you have no right to be able to leave the country.
Right.
And we need to get to the bottom of that. If the mother has committed a crime, she must be able to face the crime. Secondly, I'm sure Israel has now seen the consequences of not ensuring the ceasefire on time. You can see what's cost them. A lot more people have died. Protests are rife in Israel as we speak. Netanyahu is the devil. I've always said he is the devil in all of this. Even now, Yoav Gallant now believes what we believe, that Netanyahu is the devil in all of this.
Well, definitely people in Israel don't want his leadership anymore.
In fact, there was a shouting match between Yoav Gallant and Netanyahu the other day. Everybody now believes he's the one holding out. And it goes back to the story, although denied, that it might be influences, external influences telling him not to sign it for political gains. We do not know. It's been denied. But that might be the case.
We see the
As regards Germany, I'm also scared because there's a move, the wave of right-wing nationalism, alternative of Deutschland. I think it used to be led by Petrecker before in the past. But you can see that they're gradually gaining grounds.
Yes.
Just like it's visible and evident with reform in the UK and the likes, we should do something as regards this.
I think for me, that was one of the biggest stories this morning. It's a signal for me or a sign of intolerance. And I think I've talked about that growing intolerance across the world, particularly with immigration, even amongst ourselves. Look at what happened in South Africa. Exactly. So tying that even with Chidima's story, the fact that now it looks like countries are wanting to close their borders, and anyone who is promoting hate, where in the past was very unpopular, and you wouldn't even get a shot during elections, they're winning seats, exactly. They're winning the elections. Look at Nigel Farage. He's in Parliament on the platform of the Reform UK, and his big message as well is anti-immigration. Yes. And so I think more than ever, world leaders, and I'm glad that we come together, the United Nations and all that, must begin to have conversations, serious conversations around immigration, tolerance, and promoting tolerance. We can't just look at it because we do not want it to blow over, and then we're dealing with either a cold war, a war across nations because people just are becoming more intolerant. Exactly. And so even though, yes, they say he cannot form his government, he's just been able to win his, Thuringia, I believe, in Germany. It is still a cause for alarm, cause for concern, especially with what we see in the United Kingdom and with the elections in the United States. One of the biggest reasons or one of the biggest selling points of Donald Trump is his immigration policy. The fact that he's saying, make America great again, and you're making America great again by ensuring that we close borders to people who are seen as foreigners. So I do think that this is a cause for concern and that elections are portraying the fact that not just in Nigeria as well. I'm saying this because we see ethnic intolerance in Nigeria, we see intolerance across race in different parts of the world, but it just shows a growing intolerance and something has to be done. Absolutely. Congratulations to Chidima. Yes. She did quite well in her own capacity, but like I said, there are cases to answer. It was Action SA MP in the House that had raised a petition to the Home Affairs that how come we saw Chidima's mom on TV? She shouldn't be able to travel. So that investigation is still ongoing. I don't think that story is over yet. Okay.
What Olaf shows faces in Germany is a disaster for the center ground, for the centrist coalition between the Social Democrats, the Greens, and also the other Democratic Party. Because what they have faced now is not just in Thuringia, in Eastern Germany, where there were state elections over the weekend, with the Alternative for Germany leading in Thuringia by about 33%, 9% ahead of even the Christian Democratic Union, which is the biggest party. And it's not only in Thuringia that you have that problem. You have it also in Saxony, where the Alternative for Germany is number 2. And then you also have the rise of the left wing. So the centrist politics, is in recession in Germany. But Germany is not the only issue. It's in the whole of Europe. Absolutely. Where, nationalistic sentiments are triggered by issues of migration and all that. But specifically in Germany, the issue was migrants coming in, and then, some of these asylum seekers are engaging in terrorist acts. So it's likely to get worse in future elections. The rise of far-right politics in the whole of Europe, not just Germany. Now, as for Israel, now the Tuntistat, that's the labor union, the biggest labor union in Israel. The president has said he's calling out over 800,000 members of that union onto the streets today. Yesterday, there were tens of thousands on the streets of Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. And what is the trigger for is the killing of 6 hostages.
Yes.
Hamas is held responsible.
Yes.
Hamas says no, it was as a result of a Zionist airstrike. But at the center of it is the ceasefire talks that have not succeeded because Israel continues to give conditions. They wanted specifically to control the stretch between Gaza and Egypt. That was why the talks collapsed. So showing a lack of sincerity on the part of the Israelis. And now Netanyahu is now facing this general protest with the labor union saying it's the whole of Israel that will be shut down today, meaning that the airports will be shut down, banks, hospitals will not function. Will this lead to a quick return to ceasefire agreements? It remains to be seen. But Netanyahu is obviously under pressure. As for Chidinma Additional, I think she won convincingly. What are the issues at the center of this? National identity or nationalistic sentiments, xenophobia, and also, beauty pageants. And now beauty pageants can also be part of politics. And 4, Nigeria-South Africa relations. The love-hate relationship between Nigerians and South Africans. As for people who have been saying that, it was organized for her. No, because the final top 10 were chosen by people voting online. Yes. Now, South Africans carry their love-hate relationship with Nigeria, even to that final point. They were supporting Ms. Kwara. At the end of the day, Ms. Kwara came 3rd. They just didn't want, Chidinma Additional. Definitely. But I hope that, this is victory, well won, and it will be so considered by Nigerians, and that when she goes to represent Nigeria later in the year at the Miss Universe pageant, she will do very well.
We wish her the best of luck.